Willamette Week's mayoral endorsement interview. This is another reporter, Lucas Manfield. This is Martin and Sharon?
Yes.
Sharon. So I'm going to have each of you start by just taking 1 to 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself, your work history, how long you've been in Portland, if you've had any civic or community engagement, if you've sat on any boards of nonprofits or advisory committees, that sort of thing. And then finally, why you're running for office. Sharon, we'll start with you.
Okay. Thank you very much for having the interview, and thank you for inviting all the candidates. Yeah. I have lived in Portland since about 72. When I was a child, I moved into North Portland, and I love it there. I have been engaged, I have been engaged in a lot of environmental justice issues over the years, being out in North Portland, having to do with livability. I was a real estate broker and sales associate for 15 years, so I did a lot with first-time home buying and things. Actually, I went to City Council quite a bit and talked to them about how we were handling our real estate issues was going to cause more homeless problems and raise our costs and have problems with commercial properties. And a lot of what I have said at that time came through. Why I'm running for mayor is, of course everybody loves Portland, but I have a lot of ideas and visions that have been known to be proven that we need to continue to go back with. And I have experience with housing and transportation. I have worked for a long time. thirdbridgenow.org is the website.
What is it called?
thirdbridgenow.org.
Third Bridge Now, and that's your company.
Yes.
And what is it exactly?
thirdbridgenow.org. In 2000, I was involved in the I-5 Trade and Transportation Partnership. My alternative was accepted into the environmental impact statement. I represented the North Portland Business Association as the transportation chair for about 4 years during the renovation of the St. John's Bridge and the I-5 Task Force, and sat there as a community forum leader. And my alternative was recommended for further study, and was brought into the Columbia River Crossing as a brand new freeway corridor, similar in size to I-405, and it comes and attaches to I-405 at the south end of Swan Island, and goes across to Jansen Beach, connecting with I-5 at Mill Plain, and one leg goes over to Highway 30. It's been, River Crossing 14 was an alternative. It was removed when it wasn't supposed to be removed, and I was one of the persons who helped form the Smarter Bridge Committee that shut down the Columbia River Crossing. And we had hundreds of citizens that went to Oregon and Washington to lobby, and after the Columbia River Crossing record of decision came through, they could not get funding in either state because not one elected official, well, maybe Rex Burkholder, would sign on to it.
Great. All right. Thank you. Martin, go ahead.
What was the question?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in Portland, what you do for work, and why you're running for office.
Okay, the multi-question. Yeah, so Martin Ward, was born here 1991, and work, nothing too great, just political campaigning.
What political campaigns have you worked on?
Oh, a lot of initiatives.
Which ones?
Oh, there's a list. Most of them.
Like, can you name a couple examples or?
Measure 118.
Measure 118. So the current one.
Yeah.
And what do you do for the campaign?
Oh, just signature gatherings.
Signature gatherings.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
great.
On the streets.
Okay.
And
are you currently employed?
No, I'm not just working on the campaign.
Got it. Okay. And do you have degrees?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree and almost a master's.
Okay. What's the bachelor's degree in?
Political science.
Political science. From where?
PSU.
PSU, cool. What part of town do you live in?
Laurel.
Got it. Are you a renter, homeowner?
No, I just live with my parents.
Live with your parents, okay. Do you have any sort of civic involvement? I mean, it sounds like you've worked on some campaigns, but have you sat on boards of nonprofits, or have you done any community engagement or volunteering?
I mean, nothing really too significant, like when I was younger, some volunteering, but yeah, mainly just research.
What kind of research?
Just economics, crime, criminology.
Got it. For a particular company or?
No, just independent.
Got it.
No, yeah.
Okay. And why are you running for office?
I have a lot of policies, from all the research. I have a lot of policies stacked up. I was planning on running in 4 years, but I ended up running this year.
Tell us about a couple of those policies.
Oh, what issues do you want me to talk about?
Well, what issues are you focused on?
Yeah, I have a whole list. Economics, crime are the main issues.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it's local, some of it's federal.
Okay. What are a couple specific policy ideas you have around economics and crime for Portland?
Oh yeah, so for crime, it's all on my website. I got a whole list, but annual screening for child abuse. Want to get counselors in schools. Just make sure they're screening once a year. Try to screen out some of these serious issues. Kids are victims of.
Mm-hmm.
And for homeschool students as well, we'll have to go out of our way. Video cameras, surveillance cameras, just more surveillance cameras. Prison and jail reform, fixing the prisons and jails, making sure people are separated in solo cells with actual showers and mini kitchens in the cells, keep people separated more, decrease prison crime, also increase efficiency of the prison operation. There's a lot of extra security because people are always spending time together, they eat meals together, go to the bathroom together, so there's a lot of crime in the jails and prisons if you can keep people separated more. Not the whole time, for mental health reasons, but you can keep them separated more, you don't need as much security, don't need kitchen staff. So, it decreases costs. Based on the data I've seen in Oregon, 250 million to 500 million a year we could save by having better designed prisons and jails, as well as, eliminating the crime within jails and prisons, helping reform criminals. So, some of the policies dealing with crime, as far as economics goes. Yeah, there's homeless relief, free RV parks. Want to work on new homeless shelters. Similarly, permanent places for people to stay, essentially just mini studios. Make sure they have showers, mini kitchens in the rooms. Nothing big, just 150 square feet. Some good shelving, heavy duty shelving in there so people have storage. But yeah, most of the shelters are temporary. They're often just for the night, so it's difficult for people to get a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of crime in the shelters because they're shared rooms. People don't have privacy. And then other economic stuff.
Great, thank you.
Oh yeah, got a few other policies, but yeah.
Sure, yeah. Next question, if you're elected as mayor, what is the first policy that you would bring to city council in hopes that they would pass that policy, like a specific ordinance? And please try to be as specific as possible. So not just necessarily something related to homelessness, but a specific policy about homelessness or economic development, that sort of thing. Sharon, we'll start with you.
That we need to my policy would be that we would no longer be doing as many of the large projects. I would put them on hold as far as the rental projects of new. The most expensive way to house people is in new properties. It's not the least expensive. You put them into something where they can barely afford it, and then they're going to need vital services. And yet we gave tax abatement and took away vital services. We put them on main streets, which damage the anchors of our commercial properties.
Sorry, just to slow you down a little bit, because I'm curious about what you're talking about. Can you give a couple examples of kind of these buildings that went up?
Okay, when a large building will go up on a commercial property.
Uh-huh.
Okay, first off, commercial properties before always used to allow to have people, night watchmen or somebody to live there, or you had an employee that needed a place to stay. And until probably about 1990s, we changed a lot of that, but you saw that all over. So now you will take a property and you'll turn it in, you'll go to a commercial street right? And you have a large enough property that it's an anchor. And instead of leaving it commercial where it's going to make taxes and it's going to bring in all kind of foot traffic for all of the businesses around it, you turn it into residential property. Now, you only have 3 or 4 to 6 residents on a floor. And then you have a second floor or a third floor. So you're talking 18 to 20 residents with maybe 1 or 2 persons. So now you've taken that entire property that would be a tax base. You have maybe 30 people in it with 12 to 15 cars, which is an entire parking lot. So now you no longer have the anchor of people coming there to shop. It could be a medical center, it could be a law building, it could be some kind of artist law for making things. So now you no longer have the people coming there and work. You only have 4 or 6 people on each floor, 8 or 10 people, and you no longer have the people coming into work there. You no longer have their foot traffic, and you have cars that sit there all the time and are not into what's going on commercial property. Late night, noisy, smell, right? So people should be, when the people that want to live in that commercial property, that's one thing, but otherwise, by putting them in residential areas, you keep that property sound. It is now a good tax base. It brings in all the magnets for all the stores around, and you don't have the transportation issue of people parking there and not being able to use other businesses. So by maximizing until the 1960s, 40 to 60% of all Americans lived in boarding houses and rooming houses. So maximizing and utilizing fully the properties that we currently have that are actually residential, which are a lot of them. And the way the city needs to do that is to stop and take a register of not only people that are not in a house, but those that are paying too much. And consider the fact that when people live in a boarding situation, that boarding situations include your meal, as opposed to a rooming house, which does not. So when you're in a boarding situation, when I was a child, almost every other house was. You have a family would live there. Young couples always lived in boarding houses. They would have 1 room for them, 1 room or 2 for their children. They had their lights taken care of, their heat taken care of, their meals taken care of. They didn't have to do grocery shopping. They didn't have to do menu planning. They didn't have to cook the meals. The kids came downstairs, ate a meal, they put the dishes up or whatever. And then the only thing you were responsible for was your room, but you had the rest of the house, the living room, the dining room, maybe a family room or a basement or outside, much more than you ever get in an apartment. When you're in an apartment, you walk out and you have like a 1 living room, kitchen, dining area. You don't always even have an outside. You may or may not have a hallway that leads to the inside or outside. When you live in a house, you have all that other space.
Can I pause you real fast? So are you talking about zoning changes? Because I don't believe the city is building much of
The
these.
zoning, I am not talking about any zoning changes
Okay,
at
so
all.
what specifically do you want the city to do to encourage those type of activities?
I want the city to set up a register of people where they're at, what kind of need it is. I only believe about 20 to 25% of them actually have drug problems or are strong issues. I think about 70%.
So you want a name list of people that are unhoused?
I want to set up a list of where they're at and what their needs are and what they do or don't need. Some people will need more extreme things than others. Some people just need housing. Some people just need a job. And then you have the organizations and the people who are interested in not only housing the people that are having those issues, because once you open up a lot of properties, if you opened up only 10% of the owner's property, that would be 15,000 properties, because 150,000 people own houses. And mostly renters are going to share. But if you have 150,000 and only 10%, which is a very small amount, and that includes churches and organizations that own it, were to do it, that's 15 pieces of property. If only one. Usually a boarding house or a rooming house is 3 to 6. So that's 45 to 90 pieces of property opening immediately, which means people that are spending more than 25% of their income then have an opportunity to maybe move into a house where somebody who has had their children go to college, they don't want grandchildren yet, but they still want to be involved in the school, and somebody can move into their house and maybe.
But how are you going to create these boarding houses? Is it that they already exist and you want to use them, or do you want the city to build them, or do you want to incentivize other people to build them?
I want people to be incentivized that they themselves go into it, for one thing. Second, the city does have some houses that they can set up for people that have more special needs. But I want us to take the money that we currently are using for new property, which is the most expensive, and use it to do spec bedrooms, bathrooms, living room, and additions to current houses.
Got it.
So, but not necessarily going through our Portland Housing Bureau. Remember, I was a real estate broker for a while. Right now, our home inspectors are so trained that they can look at a house, they can tell heating this, that, what will they, and then if you have certain spec, and you go, okay, these specs of building a bathroom or a bedroom or whatever would fit with this type of property, then you can go straight forward with an appraiser type situation.
Got it. Great. Thank you. All right, Martin, specific policy.
Yeah, so mainly focusing on the lowest cost ones the first month, first two. So, I have some that are fairly low cost, like the screening for child abuse. I'm estimating like $5 million a year for all that. Free RV parks. I think they'll be pretty cheap to build. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of those designs laid out fairly quickly. I have a fair amount of regulations, which shouldn't cost anything really. I mean, maybe some administration costs, but it's a regulation versus a system that needs funding. So yeah, doing all the cheapest stuff first. Some stuff costs a lot more. Have free college lined up, so a lot of budget cuts will need to be made. I got quite a few budget cuts.
What do you want to cover?
A lot of it's capital projects, especially Portland Parks and Recreation and Department of Transportation. I have a whole list of projects from last year that I would have cut.
Mm-hmm.
A few other Bureau of Environmental Services had a few bigger ones. So like last year I was looking at at least $550 million in cuts, possibly like several hundred more from there. A few other smaller cuts, different programs and bureaus. So yeah, I was just looking at the budgets from last year and I found quite a lot of different stuff I would cut, and I'll keep looking for more cuts. So yeah, the cheapest stuff first, since you don't need to do as much, and then some of the more expensive stuff that I have planned out take a little bit longer to roll out.
Great. Okay, thank you. I want to ask you both, do you think the city, do you think the city should be staying in the JOHS? The Joint Office of Homeless Services, it's a city-county effort to reduce the unhoused population.
Could you say that again? Do
you believe that the city should stay in that partnership with the county, or should the city pull out and do its own thing? Yeah, sorry.
I think you have to stay in a partnership, but that does not mean that you don't have to, that reevaluating how it's handled and exactly what they're doing. I think they need some kind of outside committee or some kind of task force that constantly looks at them to see what they're doing, set up priorities, set up a goals, and then say, are we meeting them, and not like wait 6 months, 2 years, or whatever, but to continually coming back at it. But I do believe that collaboration. I'm an environmental justice person. Put them all in the room, let everybody hear all the sides, and find out they're getting the best deal they can out of what's going on.
Great, thank you. Martin, you think JOHS?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of the funding goes to them right now. Yeah, I can't just say I would just cut it immediately or anything like that. I have a lot of policies for the homeless, which I'll be focusing on. I only have power over the city directly, partial power. So, I'll just be going mainly to the city to solve those issues. But yeah, I can't remember exactly what they fund. I feel like it's mainly the rental assistance, mainly. Can't remember.
They do a lot of that.
Yeah. So yeah, working on any improvements as necessary.
Okay, cool. And okay, I'm not sure both. So you've both been walking into a new sort of setup for city government, and so I just kind of want to know what your what your strategy would be kind of coming in and dealing with a government that's operating very differently than it has in the past. So
I'd want to talk with the different council members, now that there'll be 12 of them, and see what they think about putting City Hall or districts, putting an office in each district. Because there is no need for them to be coming downtown when their constituents are out there and their districts are out there, and see about them adding a district office, one that had community involvement, one that has meetings that happen on a regular basis, and then have the commissioners going to different offices once a month to have a meeting at those things. I believe we should be having night meetings. I also believe we should have regular town hall where it's not just the 3-minute type of conversation, where it's more like you had in Fennel Hall in Boston. So I think that having the administrator run the city, which is a perfect time, because I don't think any of the candidates quite have everything that people want right now, but an administrator, hopefully with a good eye on business, will take care of that. And then the mayor will be more of a host or a hostess, bringing the people together, giving them new ideas. When you walk in a room and you say, how about this? And they say, I've never thought of that. And then they throw their idea and this idea and that idea. Whether you go forward with that idea or not, you've opened the conversation. And we've had a long time where we haven't had really people just stand up and have an open conversation, let's just say.
great. Yeah, Martin, what would your strategy be?
Yeah, so I'm not really in favor of the new charter too much. So I'm really trying to make some changes. It costs a lot more money. I support the 4 districts. The more local representation. But yeah, so it'll definitely be just a learning experience since I don't even know every detail of how it all works. But yeah, I'm trying to reform it.
What do you think are the biggest problems with the new charter?
It's too expensive. It's like 12 people instead of 4, so I think that's the main reason the costs are up, because they each have to have offices. Like the current offices are like $2 million for each.
So you would want no offices? You would
Well, I just want 4,
Okay.
back to the 4, but 4 districts is cool. I like the local representation. And then yeah, I don't know exactly the details of, the new mayor's office has the city administrator and several positions. I don't know what the differences are compared to the old one, cost-wise. So I don't know all the details, but definitely cheaper.
Okay, let's talk briefly about, do you think we have the too few cops, the right amount of cops, or too many cops? And what would your strategy be in addressing that if you want it changed?
I do think we need to add police officers. I think they need to be here in town, and I think that we need to be looking at asking the community to recommend different people, and go back to looking at people who have had that kind of experience life, know what's going on with it. We might have to expend some records, we might have to change a few things, but I think we need to be looking at people who live here in Portland to be doing that. I also believe that community involvement with the police officers, that we should be having quarterly whole weekend events where the police officer is there. They are chatting with you, they're talking with you, they're having how to defend yourself, they're playing with the kids. You can't take somebody's back and support it if you don't know their front. And having them just show up at meetings isn't working that way, and you have to have that fostering. I also believe that besides having the police inside the city and having the police interact in a more social way so you actually know who you're talking with, that the body cameras help. And lastly, I would like us to think about having the police department go to the individuals having an insurance policy that we pay for the base of, just like you would an engineer or a doctor who has people's lives in their hands. And as they make mistakes or anything happen, they then pay their insurance premium changes, and that would help weed out officers that weren't doing so great. It would also mean that the citizens wouldn't pay or the pension wouldn't pay when an officer is bad, and that officers would be more willing to turn in another officer because they would think that that person is being judged by their work and not taken out of their funds or out of the city funds, and so they'll step up more often and police them. And that person won't want to pay if we pay the base, they won't want to pay more. They will issue themselves out. They won't be able to go someplace else because they'll say, that's in Portland, have that in. How's your insurance rating? So I believe going to that type of accountability like you would an engineer that builds a building that people can get harmed, there is that type of insurance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mark, right amount of cops, too few, too many?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm open to the potential of increasing. I'm mainly focused on increasing surveillance cameras. I want the video cameras up and make some of these other reforms to help just increase efficiency of investigation and policing. You know, video cameras, you know, it's much more efficient cost-wise as far as, you know, being able to identify suspects, fleeing, arriving at the scene of a crime, and ideally deterring crime. You know, you obviously have to have police to actually arrest people, but just cost-wise, have police all over the city, you know, it starts adding up, and it's a yearly cost, where video cameras is a single-time investment, not too much ongoing cost. So, yeah, I got a lot of policies. I have several other policies too. So just increasing efficiency as much as possible. The judicial process, you know, there's so many steps to it. Trying to cut some of those steps out. A lot of it's federal level, some of it's state level. It's not local level. So you have to go through some other jurisdictions to get some of that done. So those are my main focuses, but yeah, you know, I'm open to the potential, the possibility, the idea.
Got it. Okay, I just want to ask you both, I mean, obviously, compared to, you know, we have several current city council members that are running for mayor. You guys lack the name recognition of many of the people that are in this race. I'm just kind of curious what your strategy is. Like, what do you think your path to victory is here? How do you make that up? So let's start with you, Mark.
Oh yeah, just campaigning. I've been out handing out flyers, just trying to get the flyers out there. Several other strategies that I'll be working on soon. Some other advertisement forms, especially once the ballots come out. Still working on getting all that together. But yeah, just gotta get the name recognition.
Have you been fundraising, or do you have?
No, not really, it's just my own money right now.
Okay.
Just on the streets myself, yeah.
Okay. All right, how about you, Sharon?
Well, I think that the recent poll with 41% of the people not interested in the top, and the only way that they chose the three people that they are getting the attention of in the candidates was all money. They didn't have to put in an essay, they didn't have to answer a survey, they didn't have to do anything else. So the main organizations did not get the homework assignment of it's more voices, more choices. And I think right now, the second that everybody has heard what the top three that have been chosen have said, they're not impressed. It's now the time to come out and say, oh, okay, well, they've said this, and here are distinct individual policies on policing, on housing, on food security, and so forth and so on. And the fact that I have been involved in an environmental justice person for close to 30 years, and I've showed up, and if I showed up when I wasn't getting paid, you bet I will when I'm not. And Portland is looking for and needing what I have to offer. So I think now that they've finally got the three that they got out, and they're not doing so well, I think they're ready to look at a new slate. I'm hoping that they'll go to electnasset.com and look at my website, and I'm hoping that the other organizations will go, oh, okay, we do need to open it up and look at others.
Have you been fundraising? Has there fundraising?
I have not been funding. I have not been fundraising. I do have an office. I was shocked to find out I'm the only one that has a campaign office.
Where is it?
It's at 5038 North Bombard.
Is it specific? Is it just specifically for your campaign, or
Yes,
does
it
it
is. Look at the windows and enjoy the place. It's fresh painted and everything. It's Wheeler's Bicycle Shop. I actually called because they have all the windows closed up for a while, and I grew up a few blocks away, and I called and I said, hey, I don't know what you're doing with the shop. I said, and I'm really really a long shot, but I'm supposed to be in this shop. What would you think about maybe renting me a little space? And I got a call back, and it was a guy I knew from when I was doing real estate. He's like, I've always loved your ideas. My wife and I talked it over, and we know we are a long shot. We know we could get in trouble with people that might win and get upset at us, but we'll get you a spot. And so they pulled back all of their shelves and built out a little wood thing, because after I leave they'll have a little retail shop, and so they'll have something out of it. And then so then he had a family issue and left for a little bit, and we were going to start, and the ladies came in and they said, no, it has to be drywalled, because he was going to drywall it, and I said, that's okay. They go, no, it's got to be drywalled. So one of my friends, she drywalled it and painted it herself. And so that is finished. I did sign up for the small donor and took the classes. The city of Portland lost my paperwork for becoming mayor, and I kept waiting for them to announce that I'd signed up in July, and kept waiting. I was being patient and having problems with the office and painting it, and so finally I called and I said, so what's up? Turned out they have my money. They use Monkey Server in Portland. They don't use a regular server thing and my form had been dropped. So they found it, which was nice, and matched it up one day after small donor closed. I'd already taken all the class. I'd already handed out different sheets. So, but I was waiting to make an announcement, and so it was one day after that. So I have not raised funds. I'm going on the 3,500, and I'm very close to that right now, especially with an office and everything.
Great.
But I have signs, an office, a website that's excellent, and I plan on becoming the next mayor, because I would do a really good job. And let me tell you, they need somebody that has lived a whole life on a short budget, and yeah.
Great, thank you. So do you have any other questions? Okay, cool. We got one more sort of, have you had any birthdays?
Yes.
Okay, great. We got one more fun question. What we want to know is, what were you best known for in high school? And people have given various answers. Our favorite is someone who was on they were the worst person on their junior varsity soccer team for all 4 years. Some people have voted the best, whatever.
You stole a car.
Yeah.
I went to St. Mary's Academy, and I was always all over downtown. And at St. Mary's Academy, all the ladies lived in different areas of town, and I had a car. And not only did I teach everybody to drive, but I drove everybody home and their boyfriends all the time. And I was always known for, she'll take us. I'd crash out in the car and take them different places, and they always pay for my gas and stuff.
Great. All right, Lauren.
Well, not pass up from, this teenager.
High school is, just a lot of partying, alcohol, and drugs. Nothing too positive. So
You remember
I graduated.
do you have any idea how other people at school would have recalled you, or what you were known
He was partying, drugs, smoking dope.
for? Great,
Fair.
thank you. All right, well, thank you
Yeah, thank you
both
both.
so much for coming in.
Thank you, and hopefully, since what I have been really surprised at was that the other candidates haven't come to like 2 or 3 of the homeless events, and except for like the Chamber of Commerce type thing, they haven't been showing up to interviews and events and things.
No, like the top candidate, like the city council candidate?
Yes, Keith has. He showed up to the mental health thing. That was an all-day event. They didn't even send and say no. There was an event the other night where people were talking about their experiences. They didn't show. They seemed to only be showing to Columbia Corridor and. But anyways, so now that there's still another month or so, I'm hoping that you'll give us top billing, like you did in the paper, like you did in the paper recently with them. Yeah, because we stood up, and also, tell you the truth, you'll love me as your mayor.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Do we need to go grab pictures? Is our photographer here?
Yeah.
Brian, do we need?
Yeah, just take their photos real quick.
Great. Follow Brian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.